I'm thinking a trip. All of us. Oh, no. Together. Now, we'll cater this to you because you don't want any of the shenanigans.
Costa Rica.
No. Washington, D.C. Let's go to see museums together. National Mall, you could just pop in and out. 1 museum, 2 museum, air and space.
Museum hopping.
Natural history. Yeah.
Have you been to the museum?
Why did you tell him that's supposed to be Sunday surprise?
Oh, man.
So who should we invite that's out of this room right now is really the question. Because it's happening.
Well, as long as you don't invite me, that's fine.
I've done that before.
Have you?
Yeah, with a lame groom. Oh, okay, well, we're going to have your bachelor party.
All right, you guys can do that. You guys should do that. Have my bachelor party without me. That's funny. We could create funny video content.
But if Dan's not going, do we have to go to D.C. and museums, or can we just go to a strip club?
No. What makes you think I want to go to D.C. museums? I've seen them all already. I used to do PTI there all the time. What makes you think I want to go to museums with you guys? I can't think of a worse bachelor party than museums.
Live from ESPN Studios in South Beach. It's the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz.
Guillermo, put it on the poll. Can you stop touching your face?
No.
They have told us to stop touching our faces. I saw somewhere, I don't know whether it was the Daily Show or somewhere else, where they've got experts all over television saying to stop touching your face, and seconds later, they themselves are touching their own face, licking their finger to turn a page. You avoid illness by getting stuff away from your face and mouth and nose, and so people are being advised as hand puritizer / sanitizer is, being sold out. Stock prices soar. The greatest thing in our economy right now is any sort of hand sanitizer.
Dan, I am looking at a study here from 2015. Excuse me. We touch our face an average of 24 times per hour. 24 times per hour. I cannot stop touching my own face.
Well, is it a case now where they tell you not to touch your face and you're doing it even more because now you're being aware of the times you're touching your face? Usually you're not thinking about the touching of your face.
The worst is when you scratch the inner of your eye. It's like, oh no, that's probably the worst place. And it's just I keep freaking out. What do I do if I do touch my face? Is there something I can do to fix it?
You console yourself with the idea that this is largely something that's killing old people with respiratory problems. That's what you do. And you hope that you're not like me, an old person with respiratory problems. So I have in front of me.
Good answer.
I have right in front of me.
It's very true. I have no idea how it doesn't affect children.
I mean, not the Le Batard.
They're immune to it. No babies get it. It's very confusing.
I have in front of me a story from ESPN.com, and it's funny to think of from a certain perspective. The Los Angeles Angels have fired their longtime visiting clubhouse manager after an internal investigation confirmed suspicions that he was providing ball doctoring substances to the opposing pitchers. And the reason I think this is funny from a new perspective is because for all the cheating that they've brought to our attention in sports, here's the only kind of guy they can actually get rid of. None of the players who are cheating are in any trouble. None of the guys who accepted whatever substances he was giving them are in any kind of trouble. Trevor Bauer's on HBO Real Sports teaching everybody how to cheat with a baseball and saying that 70% of baseball pitchers use substances. Trevor Bauer sitting there in spring training just tipping his pitches, telling people what's coming, because if he uses the substances, you're not going to be able to hit what he's throwing up there because it's moving so much. So for all of the scandal in the sport, I want you to sort of absorb that A-Rod is the face of baseball now as the clubhouse guy. The opposing clubhouse guy gets fired.
You're right, though. They can't do anything to the players, but to a guy who's been with that team for
get him out of here.
30 years he's been with the team.
But what do you think's happening there that he was doing that for opposing pitchers? Is it just so accepted that they were like, hey, give me some of that stuff, and everybody's using it, so it's just his job to give him some of his stuff? That's all that's happening. He's been doing the same thing he's been doing for 30 years. Like the opposing pitchers have it. The pitchers on the Angels have it.
He's working on them tips, baby.
That is what he's working on, actually. You're right. Good Lord, baseball players are good tippers. They take care of all of those people. Those jobs are good. Now you're cleaning underwear. So that part of the job can be bad. But in terms of how baseball players give you, what's the per diem now in baseball? Can you guys look that up for me? Just the money a baseball player gets per day simply to eat. And keep in mind, to eat when those clubhouses are filled with like the greatest buffets you have ever seen. They're candy stores. The clubhouse buffets are a thing to behold in Major League Baseball. You could be a Major League Baseball player who's on this Extreme Cheapskates show, and you would never have to ever pay for a meal yourself outside if you chose to simply eat what the team was feeding you.
Mike, am I reading this correctly? I know you're looking it up as well.
It's going to be $100 or $200.
Well, no, I think it was $105 per day, and in the last CBA, it dropped down to $30 per day.
Really?
Yeah.
They took some of that money? That doesn't
I'm saying
sound right.
I think here because I am scarred. I have read the internet wrong my entire life.
That doesn't sound right. Those things don't usually depreciate.
No, that doesn't. I'm reading during spring training, they get about $1,300 a week when you consider room and board and meals. So I think it's more than that. And this is just numbers from the spring for 2 years ago. But also, this is very difficult to do on the fly.
Yeah, but just know, my point is that the per diem for baseball players, I think basketball players, it's very good as well. It's just this ridiculous. Sometimes the reason I bring it up is because sometimes those guys, when they get the per diem, will just hand it over to a clubhouse guy. They'll just say, hey, I don't need this. You go ahead and take this. And next thing you know, for cleaning underwear, he's got an envelope filled with cash.
I'm seeing 102 per day, but I'm reading a lot of articles here.
I think as well, I don't think that's taxable, is it? Like if you're not reporting
you're throwing
it.
a lot of stuff at me.
Yeah, I'm just reading from Pedro
I'm pouring over the
Gomez.
CBA.
Right. This is back in
Can you stop asking
2016.
questions?
I am telling you,
so
it
I
dropped
can answer
down.
one of them.
It dropped down to $30 per day on the road. I mean, that's according to Pedro Gomez, ESPN, back in 2016.
That doesn't seem to make. All right, we will look it up, and we will find the information that
I
is
got a
correct.
PDF open. I'm control effing DM. Like, just give me a minute.
I've texted Tim Kirkjian, so we'll get to the bottom of this.
That's the way you do things, Chris. Thank you. Leaping into action. While we're at it, though, it is funny to see, and this is something that I feel like we missed in the Tony Romo conversation when Tony Romo got $17 million. It is funny to see that the reports are that ESPN is trying to trade for Al Michaels to put him with Peyton Manning. And the thing that's funny to see is as these TV rights come up, and as NFL owners say, we want our broadcasts to be impeccable, what you basically have is CBS saying, what's $17 million a year if what we're doing is pleasing the NFL by having our booth be great? And what's $17 million a year to the NFL if it means we get to keep football and we've made football our partner happy? It's the same thing that's happening with ESPN. Like this sudden surge toward hiring. We need to hire the biggest, most giant name. I don't know. I wonder how Joe Tess receives that news. It's pretty terrible.
Not well,
Robert
probably,
Raiola,
yeah.
the sports taxman, says the per diem in some of the major sports is 133 in the NFL, 122 in the NHL, 110 in Major League Baseball. Wow.
Thank you. That is some information right there.
He's a good follow.
Taxable or?
At Sports Taxman. Come on, man.
But let's talk about, I asked Tony to look up for us some of the things that have been traded because I'm guessing that most of
Michaels himself was traded.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
It's not that uncommon. It's
for
not
like a cartoon bunny.
That's right. And Al Michaels, what that would do to ESPN's, like what you'd be able to do there is you'd be able to move Tirico over, right?
The plan is from that. I feel very uncomfortable talking
Look, it's a
about
report in the New York Post. This is not an ESPN report. It's
but then we start going off of like, what does this mean to this person?
Well,
and
but
who should
we did
trade?
the same thing to Jim Nantz when Tony Romo signed. Look, man, like
but it's different because that's them and this is us.
no, well, that's why it's not different. Like we should cover ourselves the way we cover everybody else because we're the worldwide leader in sports and we're a news entity that sometimes makes news. That's why people are so interested in the fact that the New York Post is reporting what it's reporting about this.
Yeah, okay, I'm not going to push back. I think the appeal to spend money on your broadcasting and improve your booth, and you see these rumors of Al Michaels and Peyton Manning, is ESPN wants more. Who doesn't want more? The NFL actually rates. The NFL brings people to your product. The NFL gives you a platform to promote other shows. So Sunday ticket rights are up. Why not? Let's keep improving this product. We want more playoff games. We want to be in the mix for a Super Bowl. All this stuff is, I mean, money's at the end of it, obviously, but eyes, attention, and pleasing a partner.
Rising tide lifts all boats, Dan, huh?
You mentioned that. Yeah.
You think Gruden regrets going back into coaching?
That's a great question.
Oh, he's making $10
He
million
made $10
a year.
million. Yeah, but he's underpaid. Half of what Romo's making. You just said he's making.
Doesn't he have ownership though?
He's making half of what Romo's making, and Romo doesn't have to sleep in his office at 4 a.m.
And in the interest of journalism, ESPN has no comment on this report.
Yes. Okay. Thank you for doing the journalism.
I wish we didn't either, but
Rising tide lifts all boats.
ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Creators of the Name Your Price tool. Choose from a range of coverage options and pick the price that works for you. Visit Progressive.com today. Tune in tomorrow for college basketball action as Tennessee battles Auburn. Coverage begins at 11:30 a.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. Here's your SportsCenter update. Steph Curry scored 23 points, grabbed 7 rebounds, had 7 assists in his return as the Warriors lost to the Raptors. The Lakers are finalizing a deal with Dion Waiters.
Making Moves is brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs. Build your winning team today. Go to linkedin.com/sports.
Dion Waiters.
Champion Dion Waiters.
Oh boy. Yeah.
SportsCenter brought to you by Bolt 24. Being an athlete is 24/7. So stay hydrated with Bolt 24 with antioxidant, vitamins A and C, electrolytes from watermelon and sea salt, and no artificial sweeteners or flavors. Bolt 24, all-day hydration for all-day athletes. For all the latest headlines and information, tune in to SportsCenter on ESPN Radio all throughout the day.
More than Stu from the Clevelander on ESPN Radio.
I want a song remix with the Duffman. Oh yeah, coming out of the break.
Oh yeah. 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 Oh yeah.
Tune in tomorrow for college basketball action as Virginia battles Louisville. Coverage begins at 3:30 p.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
So, Stugotz, I want to give you some context to the thing that Mike Ryan didn't exactly want me talking about last segment. And I get it because we're teammates with Joe Tess. I like Joe Tess. He's very good at what he does. But it is odd to see sports media affected with the same sort of cutthroat mercenary thing where, hey, if we can get someone who brings us more X.
Well, brings us Peyton Manning.
More X, whatever it is. If it's cutthroat. It is the world that athletes live in and they get scared in because someone is always coming for their jobs and everyone at this company is disposable. Every single person at this company is disposable. And
except for Stephen A. Smith.
Exactly right.
Just get that right.
Well, they just gave him a contract that makes it a little harder to make him disposable, but that's...
he earned a contract.
Because he's that important, Dan.
There isn't anybody more important to this network in terms of like a content producer than Stephen A. Smith.
Agreed, and Disney fired Roseanne Barr when she had the #1 television show in America for a
You
tweet.
think Roseanne is the comp for Stephen A. Smith?
What?
There is no comp.
Get out of here, man.
Are you mental? Roseanne Barr wasn't even, I know that it was named Roseanne, but it wasn't even like, that show's doing fine without her. There's John Goodman on that show.
Yeah.
He's a heavyweight.
Yeah.
And that's not a shot at his weight. It's just like how you describe people.
He lost weight, actually.
Yeah, he's actually
did.
skinny now.
Yeah.
Skinny?
John Goodman, have you
Thinner.
seen him?
Well,
Yeah,
John
super-
Goodman
No,
is
he looks
skinny.
fantastic.
Yeah, he looks good.
He
Yeah.
looks fantastic.
Yeah,
he does look
looks
good.
great. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
It's not
I
quite.
told you that I saw that dude eat like 500 crawfish at Mardi Gras. Like I was jarred. I think he was the Grand Marshal one year.
Why were you watching him for so
Yeah,
long?
Because he was just
creepy.
right. Because wait a minute. You're gonna tell me
There's
that
other
if
things to
you're
do
gonna
there.
te-
I mean.
hold on,
Sitting there staring
hold
at
on.
what John Goodman's
You're
doing
gonna
for
tell me
hours?
that
I
if
mean,
you
weird.
walk into a place where big giant John Goodman has 500 crawfish in front of him, that's something you're not gonna notice.
One or two, perhaps, not all
exactly.
500.
There's other
I
things
mean,
going
weird.
on at Mardi Gras.
I'm sure I
Have some
haven't
fun. I mean,
I'm sure I haven't had a good crawfish, and I know it's regional and cultural, but you ever been to like a crawfish broil? The whole thing seems so unappetizing. They pour all these crawfish out on a table. They're still moving, kinda, and you have to like pick them apart. I'm just like a big no thanks on that.
And it's a lot of work for a very little payoff. It's
yeah.
like, I got to crack this thing and da-da-da-da-da.
Hands are
And all of a
getting
sudden you have
messy.
like this little slither of a bite. It's just like, that's it. That's what I'm doing all this for.
Can someone pull it apart for me?
Put it on the poll, Guillermo, at Lebitard Show. Is the crawfish the most inefficient of the things you eat in terms of value for effort?
See, like I'm not opposed to working for the food. Pistachio, delightful experience.
you're not
What a
working
treat.
that hard on the
What a
pistachio,
treat.
though.
Although occasionally you get the one and you're like,
I mean-
how the hell do I open this? Why is this?
I'll tell you how
You just ask someone to do it for you. You are opposed
You
to
put-
doing the work
Yeah.
to eat
No,
it.
no. The
You put it-
crawfish just seems like an extra level of unnecessary.
But you can get pistachios without the shell. Did you know that? You could do that.
Not the same.
There's
No,
way
it's
that
not
is
the
the
same.
Okay,
Not
I'm
the
just
same
letting
at
you
all.
know that you
No.
And
can
Mike,
do it if you
the
want
one,
it.
The one that has just a little slither of an opening, you got to put it in between
Yeah,
your
you
teeth.
put it in the
and you
teeth.
slide it down, slide your
That's
tooth
part
down.
of the fun. But then occasionally you enter the one that's like, where is it? Like, this is just totally
Oh, you
encased.
collect those. You collect them. You see how many you have at the end. It's a fun
Yeah.
game.
The pistachio is just a wonderful nut. Is it even a nut? I can't even
It's the best
explain
nut.
it.
It's the
Why
best
is it
nut.
green inside? Crazy. Is this a plant? What is this?
Put it on the poll, Guillermo. All of these things. Is the pistachio the greatest of the nuts? Because I would argue that the macadamian is.
You'd be wrong.
Also put on the poll.
Mac nuts are fine.
Also-
they're good.
Average.
Also put on the poll. Are you made insane with rage when one of your pistachios comes in a shell that you can't open? And also put on the poll, pistachios from a bag with no shells, not the same, question mark? Yes or no? Because you guys are saying it's simply not the same to eat a pistachio that you don't have to work for.
Yeah.
That fulfillment is part of the pistachio eating experience.
I was just offering it up as an option to Mike in case he didn't want to deal with the shells anymore. I happen to agree that opening up the shell, spitting it into a cup is part of the charm of pistachio nuts.
Spit it into a cup.
Yeah.
But you haven't really lived until you've had a Persian pistachio. I'm just saying right now, there's this Iranian family that lives next to my father-in-law, and they bring pistachios direct from Iran. And I don't know if this is like I've said too much in terms of like trade sanctions and whatever, but it's the best damn pistachio I've ever had in my life.
It's not a nut.
What is that, a legume?
It's not a true botanical nut. They're edible seeds of the pistachio tree fruit.
Unbelievable.
How about that?
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
I imagine that Dan has pistachio nuts in the shell, but has somebody take them all out for him.
That's right.
I call that Wednesday.
Aquí lo que importa es el catch.
I love living in a world where there's a possibility that ESPN security will come into the room and simply say, sorry, Stugotz, you've been traded.
To NBC?
just been traded. Just that we don't know. You can't, we don't know where you're going. You just can't be here anymore.
My best guess is that you're not on the evening news.
Do I get the same contract? Like, how does that work? Does it transfer over to the new
we'll,
place?
We'll think about it in a second. I didn't even get into the point that I wanted to make, which I'll do so in next segment. It is the greatest arguments I have had at ESPN is about how ESPN covers ESPN, but we'll get to that in a second. Advance Auto Parts, your partner is telling you to fix something on the car. Go to Advance Auto Parts. They will help you find out what's wrong, tell you how to fix it. Tell them, God.
Yep, you may not be able to run, throw, or catch like a professional athlete, but now that it's spring, you can get your lawn looking like a professional sports field. Assuming your lawn gear will start, that is. Stop by Advance Auto Parts. They'll test your lawn and garden battery for free if it needs to be replaced. They have Autocraft lawn and garden batteries starting at just $22.99. Plus, Enter the code DAN20 when you buy online to save 20%. Think ahead. Think advance. Only at Advance Auto Parts.
Oye, this is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
I was going to say Dr. Phil was a middle linebacker for Tulsa.
That's not true.
What are you doing? You're offsides. Now that's encroachment. Are there any other football terms?
He needs funny phrases. Somebody give him funny phrases. Bail him out. Give him a funny football phrase to say in that dopey accent.
Unabated to the quarterback.
There you go.
The Academy Award-winning screenwriter and director is officially developing an animated series for Netflix based on Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. I love that. SportsCenter brought to you by Advance Auto Parts. Think ahead, think advance. At any time, 1 in 4 batteries is about to fail. Get a free battery test and free installation with any automotive battery purchase only at Advance Auto Parts. For all the latest headlines and information, tune in to SportsCenter on ESPN Radio all throughout the day.
There wasn't a lot of sports news last night, but one of the things that did happen is that the Clippers crushed all that Rockets micro ball, and they did it because the Rockets, not unlike Game 7 against the Warriors, that could have really changed the fate of that Warriors team in the way that it was remembered. They shot very poorly in a Game 7 from 3, and last night they went 7 for 42 from 3, and they missed 20 straight three-pointers. 20 straight threes they missed.
Live by the 3, die by the 3, Dan.
Thank you, Stugotz.
You got it.
So what we have in front of me right now is an assortment of trades, unusual trades that have been made between media entities and just unusual trades in general. And I will get to it in a second. The reason that we are talking about trading people in sports media is because the report from the New York Post is that and trying to bolster all broadcast coverage, football, as it enters this time where the television rights are about to explode again, everyone is trying to get their booths in the highest order. And so there is talk of Al Michaels and Peyton Manning in the ESPN booth. There would have to be a trade for Al Michaels. Mike Tirico hasn't been on these broadcasts the way that he's been in waiting on Al Michaels for a while.
Right.
He left here and has been in waiting for a while, and now this would open up the opportunity if Al Michaels were coming here. The thing that I wanted to tell you about, though, before we get to some of these trades, because evidently, Mike, can we talk to Marty Smith about the time he was almost traded?
I've been texting with him privately. He hasn't given me permission to get him on the air.
Okay.
But that was one of the rumors that Marty Smith was almost traded.
Yes, and so we will talk to him.
By the way,
if
to
he's willing.
clean up what you were saying, ESPN has no comment on these reports that are out there.
Yes, there has been no comment, but this leads me to where my biggest fights at the company have been in 20 years, not 10, in 20 years.
Is Peyton Manning saying that he'll only work with Al Michaels? Is that the deal? Is like what is going on? Like Joe Tess is
Peyton Manning isn't saying anything.
No, I understand that, but is the belief that it will take Al Michaels to get Peyton Manning to come to ESPN to do this? Like, does Peyton Manning...
Well, they've already...
That's you speculating.
The reports were already... Again, these are all reports. We don't know what is true. ESPN is not commenting. But the reports have been that ESPN has been interested in getting Peyton Manning for a while, and the market just exploded in a way that must have gotten Peyton Manning's attention. The market just exploded with Tony Romo making twice as much as a broadcaster, working, 20 weeks as he did when he was playing the NFL's highest paid position on a team where the star on the helmet is almost redundant. And he's making twice as much for a lot less work. And the game just changed. It changed because of Tony Romo. But what I wanted to explain to you and what I wanted to talk to you about is this goes back a long way with me. I was doing, on Sunday mornings, this incredibly crappy little radio show, ESPN the magazine. It was a 4-hour Sunday morning show. Nobody wants that time shift. Nobody.
I loved it, man.
Nobody wants to be on from 7 a.m. to 11 a.m. And worse still, I was on by myself.
Right.
It was a bit lonely and sad, but I was able to do it from my home. I was able to just sit, get out of bed, and many times, because I was still young, being out from the night before until 3, 4, 5 in the morning and just roll out of bed and go to a microphone that was in my office. And one day I teased, coming up next, we talk about why it is ESPN has suspended Bob Bryant. And the call that comes into, now I want you guys to imagine who's working on a Sunday morning in radio. Board ops, producers, talent, everybody who's working. Sunday morning is a terrible shift for everybody involved. It is not the height of the profession. You can make the argument it is the lowest rung. I mean, I guess maybe overnights, but...
I mean, I had it 7 to 9 a.m. on ESPN radio when we first started.
Also, maybe not working at ESPN.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Or shift at the worldwide leader.
Okay, this one was pretty bad. And so the call that comes in is from the president of the company. The president of the company, who I've never spoken to. And Mark Shapiro is calling a board op and a producer who he terrifies by barking at them that we will no longer discuss why Bob Bryant was suspended by ESPN.
But you teased it.
That's correct. I did tease it, and then I followed orders reluctantly. And after the show, because he nuked the show, I called him to say, hey, can you not be as angry next time when you're doing that? And please remember who it is that you are, because I lost my entire staff when you did that. And his immediate response was, if you don't like it, you could work somewhere else. To which I said, is that really how you deal with people? That's how you do business? Like, that was my first argument on that front, that ESPN doesn't cover ESPN very well. Real comfortable covering everybody else. Doesn't do a great job of covering ESPN. We go into a little bit of hiding, and I've had the fight a number of different times because I've wanted this company to cover itself the way that it covers everybody else. But too often we run for cover when it's our own, and that's not media objectivity. That's obviously media bias. And I like it for the people who can continue to not be covered the way we cover the athletes. I would not want to be covered the way that we cover the athletes, especially when I make a mistake. I don't want to be covered when I make my worst error and then it becomes a defining act on who it is I am. But we do it to everybody else. Why not a mirror?
What do you think is next for the Patriots?
Yeah, I want to know.
They hold some cards. I mean,
He's got to be
Belichick go from this.
He's the biggest domino, right?
It's going
He's
to
the
be.
first domino.
If
Yeah,
Tom
the
Brady
domino.
First domino,
It's
right.
going to be a public loss.
Mm-hmm.
But then your attention automatically goes to where does New England go from here?
Right.
And there's so many incredible options available.
And does Brady factor that into his decision? Like, if he goes to San Francisco, then Belichick can get Garoppolo. If he goes to, Tennessee, then he can get Tannehill. Does he have to go to a place where he leaves Belichick with no quarterback?
If you're New England, do you soften the blow by making the move first sort of break up with him before he breaks up with you. This is certainly something that's on the table. We've never seen anything like this in the NFL. An NBA-like offseason? My attention's at a fever pitch.
Oh, yeah.
I'll tell you that right now.
Yep.
Aquí lo que importa es el catch.
Thoughts, Dan? Or?
I mean, we laid out for him. He
Black tux, people.
decided to not add color to our conversation.
Exactly.
Good content.
I wasn't supportive of your conversation.
No, Dan, you weren't. You weren't.
I was supportive of yours. I tried to ask some questions about Peyton Manning. I mean, no one was answering them.
The Black Tux people, because ESPN has no comment. Which part of that were you not understanding?
I'm just supporting you, man.
Do not go into your next event looking like Stugotz. Use the Black Tux and get yourself a decent suit, people. Tell them, Gotts.
Yep, the Black Tux believes every groom deserves a better experience when it comes to finding formal wear, a suit or tuxedo for their big day. Did you know the Black Tux was actually started by two guys who had one of the worst tuxedo fittings you could imagine?
I love how you're a cautionary tale in our copy.
It turns out they aren't alone in this frustration. I don't even know what that means.
Cautionary tale?
Yes.
Yeah.
Just listen to these one-star reviews from competitor tuck shops that shall not be named. Go elsewhere. This place is pretty terrible, unless you're dressing like your grandpa for Halloween. We felt weird buying a suit from somebody so unhappy we were afraid his bad vibes might follow us to our wedding day, so we left. Whether you are buying your outfit or looking to rent, you won't find a formal wear experience or designs like the ones you'll find at the Black Tux. If you want your wedding to be remembered for the right reasons, simple. Order your suits or tuxedos at theblacktux.com and enjoy 10% off with code Dan. That's theblacktux.com code Dan for 10% off your purchase. The Black Tux, formal wear for the moment.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz from South Beach on ESPN Radio.
If you missed any of our interviews, check them out on demand in the Dan Le Batard Show podcast, brought to you by Capital One. Why settle for average? With Capital One, you could open a savings account with a rate 5 times the national average. Welcome to Banking Reimagined. Capital One, what's in your wallet? Capital One N.A., member FDIC. All guests on the Dan Le Batard Show appear via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line.
Keep this in mind for me, please. If the blogs end up running some of what just happened in the last segment, I probably was remiss in not saying that I've had precious few fights of any sort at ESPN where they have been hugely supportive of the things that we do around here. So I've only had a handful of them, but they tend to be about that particular subject. And there's no disputing that the most interesting story in sports today is the report that the New York Post had that ESPN is trying to get into the elite broadcaster pay that we're talking about with Tony Romo as it relates to Al Michaels and Peyton Manning. There is no more interesting story to the sports fan today than, wait a minute, what? That can be a thing? You could trade for Al Michaels? Now, I've got in front of me a handful of trades. Al Michaels, Mike was right, has been traded. He was traded already to NBC for the rights to Oswald the Lucky Rabbit. The reason that's important is because Oswald was a precursor to Mickey Mouse. He was designed personally by Walt Disney for Universal Pictures in the 20s, and Bob Iger knew it was important for the Disney family. And so there was a trade.
And Oswald, I believe, appeared in a video game, too. Yeah. So there has been some use, some return on the investment.
Now, I've got some other strange trades here, but Fox Sports has been in talks reportedly with ESPN. This is an older story.
In the past.
On Katie Nolan, that's right, for soccer play-by-play man Ian Dark, and sources said ESPN would have agreed to the deal, but reneged when Fox asked them to throw in NASCAR reporter Marty Smith. Now, I'd love for Mike to reach out to Marty Smith and to have Marty Smith on just to get his thoughts on almost being traded. But I understand if Marty doesn't want to talk about any of this.
And being a throw-in. I mean,
that's right. Well, not a throw-in though. He would have been not really a throw-in because he was the deal breaker. He wasn't a throw-in. It's
the straw that broke the camel's back.
Thank you.
Now, I did ask Marty Smith to join us.
Well done.
But since then, he's gone dark on text. But I can tell you, I'll just go ahead and reveal a text exchange that we had, which was at 10:25. I texted him.
He texts like he talks.
Yeah, I texted him, what is it like to almost get traded? And he responded, wild as hell. I was like, wait, what? That can happen? Damn, son.
He sent me a funny note. He sent me a funny note with his wedding gift, where he just buried me and said how wonderful Valerie is, and I just sent him a note back saying Valerie found your note funny. I did not, and his response was just, "Truth hurts, Dano."
Love that guy.
Here are some.
That's why you don't just throw him into a deal.
That's exactly why.
Exactly.
So Cy Young was traded for a suit.
Really?
Lefty Grove was traded for a fence.
Really?
Fred Roberts was traded for 2 preseason games. Walter Restrepo was traded for 2 nights of hotel and transportation arrangements. Ken Crayenbuhl was traded for 10 pounds of catfish. Let me read some of these to you. Lefty Grove for a fence. Oh, look, Kerry Lightenberg was traded for 12 dozen baseballs and 2 dozen bats.
I mean, that's a steal.
That was recently.
Yeah.
That was fairly recently.
Yeah, Kerry Lightenberg is 90s, isn't it?
Yeah, that was a 90s baseball player.
But a fence for Lefty Grove? I mean, that guy won 300 games.
Well, there wasn't a day in baseball where a team could be so cash poor that they did not even have a fence around their field. So the Martinsburg Mountaineers, Blue Ridge League, they lacked financial resources, but they had Lefty Grove. Baltimore Orioles were asking for Lefty. They saw the opportunity. They sold their ace for $3,500, which was enough for them to finally get that dream fence to build around their field. Cy Young, who won 511 games.
Yeah. The award's named after him, then.
That's right.
Yeah.
For which award is that, Stugotz?
I don't know.
So he was traded for a suit and $300. That's all it took the Cleveland Spiders to get Cy Young from Tri-State League, Canton, Ohio. The Walter Restrepo for 2 nights of hotel and transportation arrangements. This one is good. So he plays for the Fort Lauderdale Strikers at the time, and they sent him to the San Antonio Scorpions, and they did so just for the Scorpions to pay for the entire team's transportation and hotel accommodations. And then there's Fred Roberts. Fred Roberts is not that long either, right? How long ago was Fred Roberts?
I don't know.
I have no idea
Who is Fred Roberts?
Fred Roberts.
I know Fred Rogers.
I
I
know
don't know
Ryan
Fred Roberts.
It's a while ago.
I will tell you that Cy Young once went 36-12 with a 1.93 ERA, 1892.
So he was pretty good, is what you're saying.
What the hell of a
nice
season,
suit,
man.
Fred Roberts was traded. It's not even for 2 regular season games. He was traded for 2 preseason games.
Mi socio, estás escuchando el Dan Le Batard Show on ESPN Radio.
Would you guys agree back there that in 2018, the thing roaming the earth most like a 2018 Tarzan is Ron McGill? That if you had he's a giant man, he's got a mustache, he's wiry, and the animals
Tarzan
do
never
things
had a
like that
mustache.
around him.
I would say pre-marriage.
yeah.
Like Ron told me stories about when he got married. His wife said, "You're not doing any of this stuff ever again." Like, period, end of discussion.
true.
We're done,
I
right?
literally sign a
This is
contract.
neutered Tarzan?
Yeah.
Okay, this is a neutered
That's
Tarzan
neutered. There you go.
situation.
That's a good way to put it.
5-4 to Lisa Salters.
Happy birthday to her. I don't care. Good luck.
This can be a tough business for a woman to age in, and she has done so impeccably. I would not have thought for a moment that Lisa Salters is older than I am. Not for one moment. I look at her and I, right? Like none of you would.
Keep pointing it out, though.
It's a happy birthday.
You could just say happy birthday.
In Dan's defense, what he's saying is she looks fantastic.
Well, no, beyond that.
No,
That's not what I was saying.
Oh.
No, what I was saying
sorry
is,
for misrepresenting
what
you.
I was saying is that this, and I'm not saying that she doesn't
I agree
look
with whatever it
fantastic.
is you're going to say.
Yes, okay, very good.
We'll see.
You
man.
come on, man. I was about to make a
Well done, chaps.
serious societal point about how difficult women have it in this
Well, you can make it later.
caveman industry
More time.
filled with men like Stugotz who do things like that.
I didn't do anything, man. Just wish her a happy birthday.
You misquoted me. What is something that is really popular now, but in 5 years everyone will look back on and be embarrassed by?
TikTok.
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 TikTok. Less than 5 years, by the way.
Yeah. 5 months.
So we have agreement? That's it? Okay, very good. Let's move on to the XFL and a stadium employee who slow down with your enthusiasm.
What do you mean? I'm ready.
No, but this
It's a
story,
big week, Dan.
Yeah. Battlehawks at Defenders.
Yep.
Here
This,
we go.
this story is not one that's going to trigger much in the way of excitement from anybody. It's that a stadium employee who worked at the XFL Seattle Dragons home game February 22nd at CenturyLink Field has tested positive for the coronavirus, King County health officials said. But as of now, no games scheduled to be played at the facility have been canceled. The Seattle Times reported that the employee who tested positive for the virus was a concessions vendor.
Again, with this war on football. I mean, everyone just rooting. This is not an XFL story. This is not a Seattle Dragons story. This is a CenturyLink Field story. There is no correlation between the XFL and the coronavirus outside of the one that Dan just told you. Yeah. XFL games are not only a joy to be at, but they're totally safe. Unless you were at that game in Seattle and ordered food from this one person. There is no sort of story backing that there's an outbreak at XFL games. For the love of football.
What do you think about the idea that the XFL might be linked to this sort of thing?
They are not linked, Dan. It's a CenturyLink. CenturyLink Field. That's right. The XFL has no input on who gets hired at CenturyLink Field. XFL, I feel confident in speaking for Oliver Luck and Vince McMahon, saying they want to eradicate coronavirus from the game.
So then officially the idea that the
official
XFL
stance of the XFL, if I may speak on that, is 100% anti-coronavirus.
That's probably safe to say.
Who is Bayless pro coronavirus?
Skip Bayless?
Yes, has he planted his flag there?
We can't rule it out.
Is he looking around saying no one's planted their flag here? What about me? Can I just say that the coronavirus is overrated?
He's a contrarian. You never know with Skip Bayless. But again, this is not an XFL story. Keep tuning in record numbers. Perhaps a little bit more this week. Come on, people. We want to hit a nice little plateau and then peak for the playoffs. Come on.
Yep.
For the love of football.
We got a big one. I mean, 2-2 Guardians versus the 2-2 Renegades.
You know the Renegades haven't won at home.
I know.
This is weird. They're better on the road.
They
And
are.
Landry Jones re-aggravated that injury. So do they go to the underwear model? Do they go to a backup quarterback? It's very interesting, the position that Bob Stoops is in right now. And, I mean, even their offensive coordinator broke his leg. That's right. Hal Mummy toughed it out. Hal Mummy coaching with a broken leg.
I know it's only week 5, but is this already a must-win?
I think so. It's not too early to call it. Now, New York Guardians, helmed by Kevin Gilbride, have a quarterback controversy of their own, Dan. Luis Perez, who was third string for some reason for the New York Guardians, came in relief and won. You know Luis Perez is
That's
a quarterback.
that YouTube quarterback,
yes,
right?
or as I like to call him, LuTube, but the nickname didn't catch on.
That's a great nickname.
LuTube was spectacular.
Discovered on YouTube, tried out.
Learned the game from YouTube. Taught himself how to be a quarterback by watching other people throw.
The Lions signed him, or
Yeah. And there's no reason why he should be the third-string quarterback at the New York Guardians. He's saving Kevin Gilbride's bacon right now. This is a matchup
Are
of
you
two.
questioning Kevin Gilbride? Is that what you're doing?
I'm
you have
questioning
the
why
the
LuTube was third
audacity-
string.
You have the audacity to question Kevin Gilbride?
But, Dan, the real story in Seattle is not really the coronavirus. It's who does Jim Zorn name starter? Is it Brandon Silvers, who has been terrible? We've documented on this show that his eyes are way too close together. Or is it B.J. Daniels, a name that Dan remembers from college, the former USF quarterback who came in at the Battle Dome against the Battle Hawks last week and was an absolute spark plug for a Seattle Dragons team that was desperate for said spark plug.
Hard to believe we're already at the halfway point, huh?
It really is.
Amazing.
It really is. I'm just so happy to be here. The game is fantastic.
Happy to be here.
I'm happy. Yeah, I'm happy to be here talking XFL with a couple of other XFL guys.
I'm so happy to be here.
Do you think you work for the XFL?
It feels like it.
He's
doesn't
angling.
It does feel. I fully expected him to blurt the idea that the XFL has anything to do with the coronavirus is laughable. That's what I thought we were headed toward. He's become a corporate shill for the XFL. We've got to be a team. We've got to be there's no one nationally covering the XFL the way this show is. It's not possible. Who's covering it? Maybe in regional markets it's being covered, but you've become such a shill, such a lackey, such a water carrier for the XFL.
These accusations are false. You can't fake this sort of passion for the XFL. I've watched every snap of every game. For the love of football, it isn't just some marketing campaign or slogan, Dan. It's a way of life.
Aquí lo que importa es el catch.
You're wearing an NFL hat.
Well,
That was unfortunate.
you're wearing
I did.
that Rob Lowe
Yeah.
referee's NFL logo hat
And a Super Bowl jacket.
and a Live Super Bowl jacket.
The idea that I am pro XFL and just doing this ironically is
It's
laughable.
Advance Auto Parts have the items you need to maintain your car's health. Tell them, God.
Yep, spring is your chance to make your lawn look like the perfectly trimmed work of art you watch your favorite team run across on TV. But before you get to work, make sure you can get to work. Advance Auto Parts will test your lawn and garden battery for free if it needs to be replaced. Grab an Autocraft lawn and garden battery starting at just $22.99. Plus, enter the code DAN20 when you buy online to save 20%. That's DAN20 online to save 20%. Think ahead. Think advance. Only at Advance Auto Parts.
You are listening to the Magic City's Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
Anyway, let's play the NBA game.
Oh, Gazzy, I like this.
Where's Garrett Temple?
Oh, wow. Garrett Temple.
I know the answer, so I'm just...
Cup of coffee with the Kings, right? I think for a while.
You may know where he
maybe
was.
A couple of cups.
I'm asking you where he at.
Where is Garrett Temple? You know the answer?
I know the answer unequivocally, yeah.
Anyone else know the answer back there? Anyone want to guess? Venture a guess? Back Chris?
I don't even know who Garrett Temple is.
Okay. Billy?
Spurs.
All right. Good guess. Roy?
We're talking about Gary Temple? Who is that?
We're talking Garrett Temple.
I don't know. The Rockets? I don't know.
I'm going to go Clippers.
I feel like he's on the Jazz though.
Okay.
Even though I've never.
Amin, you want to learn him?
Brooklyn Nets.
Oh, wow.
That was close.
thing. The same way that Stugotz asked Ludacris the price of his watch one time, and it's not something that you ask. It is frowned upon. But if I'm wishing someone factually a happy birthday,
Right.
Yeah, you
Wish him a happy birthday.
Yeah, just say happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Lisa.
Leave it at that.
Mm-hmm.
that's it.
And
You
some
don't have to say, I
highlighting it.
can't believe she's older than me, and then say the age over and over.
Yeah, that wasn't good.
Yeah.
Just-
Well, wait a minute.
Come on, man. Does it have to be said?
It's called decorum, Dan.
That's
Look
what
it
it's
up.
called.
Okay. But I love that Stugotz put me in the position.
Don't lump me into this.
No,
thing.
I'm lumping you into it because you actually put me in the position where I sounded like I was saying that Lisa Salters doesn't look fantastic because you made the mistake of saying that she looks
Mistake. I was just trying
fantastic,
to
which
back
is
you
not
up.
what I was saying.
No mistake was made here. I was
It's
trying to
not-
back you up.
Yes, but you have to be careful with the way that you back me up.
It was just a piggyback situation, Dan.
Okay, Stugotz. So the problem with your piggyback situation is that that's not the kind of.
Oh, man. Can't believe it. Blaming me. Weird.
You put me in the position where it
did.
sounded
Respect
like
the
I
crate.
was saying that.
Zion's on ESPN tonight.
Hey,
Big game tonight,
Against
too.
your Miami Heat.
Yeah, Bucks and Lakers, too,
8
huh?
o'clock? NBA Friday?
Yeah.
Consider me tuning in.
Yep.
In 40 years, what will you be nostalgic for? In 40 years.
I'll be dead.
I was going to say life. Life is what I will have been nostalgic for at that point.
Nostalgic. Remember that
TikTok.
time. Yeah.
It will have circled. We complained about it when it happened, but 40 years from now, you remember how great it was?
Probably the XFL.
Do you think that we'll be nostalgic the same way we were for Lefty Grove being traded for a fence? About that day Al Michaels was traded to ESPN?
great fence, though. Great fence.
Still standing to this day.
Yep.
Chris, you have infuriated people with your crawfish take. Like, people are really mad. There is a whole...
That's a horrible take by you.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
People are so mad at you about your opinions on crawfish, and it feels like you have attacked and blasphemed against all of New Orleans.
I've been to New Orleans one time, and I'm like, all right, the last day, I got to eat this crawfish. I sat down, and it was like a whole plate of them. I'm like, this is fun, and it's just like the most work for the littlest payoff.
I've never seen mitigated gall, but that's certainly unmitigated gall.
Oh, yeah.
What do you make of the reaction, though, Chris? Because people are really mad at you. It's a little weird.
Any publicity is good publicity, Dan. My name is out there.
And that name is?
Chris Cody, EXPX.
That is Straight Talk. It is brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Everything for less, only at Walmart.
Drink all day, play all night. Let's get it popping on the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
We're on the radio, Mina. You laughing in the middle of stuff and pointing at the television as if you don't know. How is
Like-
it? No, hold on a
I
second.
want to explain to people why I was laughing.
Get out of here. Just
I
go,
have to go too?
Go sit in the penalty
Whoa.
box with Mike Ryan. Get out of here.
Oh my gosh.
Mina is so damn flighty. She never knows when she's on the radio.
He was not very good. Olindo Mare field goal kick. He was not very good. Siloven, please kick him in the head. Siloven, please kick him in the head. Tuki, tie. Apurate, Olindito, pa New Orleans, ya te va.
ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance.
That was so bad.
Terrible.
A song about Olindo Mare.
Yep. million. Have you ever heard of this guy?
Yes.
He's just got 70 mil.
Don't they call him Yo-Yo?
It's a good guess. I mean, there's a 6-year club option worth $25 million and includes a $5 million buyout.
Michael Doleac.
The Rangers defeated the Capitals 6-5. Game of the year. It really was fantastic. Mika Zibanejad. Whatever. Scored 5 goals. He became the second player in NHL history to have a 5-goal game where the 5th goal was scored in overtime. Sergei Fedorov did it versus the Capitals in 1996. Sergei. The surge protector. One of the greatest EA Sports hockey players of all time. It was him, Roenick, Yzerman. In that order. Maybe Tony Amonte.
Amonte was pretty good.
Amonte was great.
Yeah.
And finally, men who grew beards easily and earlier in life have been found to be more likely to go bald.
Everybody.
Here's the SelectQuote difference. Most companies give you one option, one policy, one rate, but SelectQuote shops. It could get you up to 10 options from highly rated life insurance companies for a free personalized quote. Do what I did. Call 800-780-1010 or go to SelectQuote.com today. For all the latest headlines and information, tune in to SportsCenter on ESPN Radio all throughout the day.
Do we want to have sex with giants?
That, of course, is Houston Rockets general manager Daryl Morey.
Do we want to have sex with giants or know it's between 4 and 6? How to bring the parts into compliance? I just cannot grasp the mechanics.
That is Rockets general manager, Houston Rockets general manager Daryl Morey.
Do we want to have sex with giants?
During a much better time for him.
Yes, a much happier time. So I want to ask everyone here this, because this show has undergone over the years a great number of evolutions. And there was a time in our show's history where the most fun we were having is people calling in and singing parody songs. And I have asked Mike to collect some of those and just play them randomly. And 5 days in, we are already on Olindo Mari, having used up Michael Doleac. Now, this is in no way the way to appeal to a national audience. This is not the way to go about doing it.
Because it wasn't a national show.
That's correct.
Keep demanding this.
I understand, and I want it, the more random, the better. But the danger we have is we had trained our local audience so well that it was fairly amazing the amount of funny that they would arrive with. But then when we went national, we got totally away from taking calls of any kind, because the first times we did it, the audience wasn't trained and it was horrific. And so here I am asking for something better from you on the name Michael Doleac than the way that the Billy Joel song, which song is this by Billy Joel?
Is this Moving Out?
Yeah, Moving Out.
Moving Out, that better than this.
Michael Doleac.
And so I've opened up the phone line, 786-456-4837, but I don't have a lot of confidence. We have not trained the national listener as well as we had trained the local listener. And unless the Miami people are calling in right now, 786-456-4837, I have great fear about this. Chris Cody, the call screener, never has any confidence about this whatsoever. Now, the best thing that can happen is that somebody be so terrible that it's good. The second best thing that can happen is that somebody actually does it well. So let's see what we have here. 786-456-4837. Chris, yeah, I know you're scared. Do you have any advice for me on where I should go on this board of calls?
I don't know what we're going here more. Are we trying to get like so bad that it's good, or you want one that I think is actually decent?
Well, he just gave you the order, so bad that it's good.
All right, let's go with number 2.
Right. This is, I feel, Dan, I feel the tension. I feel that you are I'm nervous right along with you.
All right, so go ahead and play the standard. Billy, you're not nervous.
I feel like there's more pressure on Chris Cody than anyone right now, even the callers on the line, because you ask him what's going to be good, and if it's bad, it's now not even going to be on the caller. It's going to be poor Chris's fault.
Chris, do you ask them to sing it to you or anything before they go on air? Okay, so they have sang these songs to you, and then you allowed them on the air to Dan Lebitard. Okay.
Peeling the curtain back a little bit, I'm a little worried because he's like, everyone's calling with Michael Michael Doleac once. I'm like, yes, Chris, that's the point.
Oh, no.
Oh,
Well, I thought maybe you wanted the first guy that called in had another turning another athlete's name into a song. So I thought maybe we would just take a bunch of
no, we're
submissions.
familiar with
No,
what you
all
thought.
we're trying to do is top this. We don't think it could be topped. We think sea to shining sea. We're a big national radio show, a lot of affiliates, and we think that we can't find anybody who's going to be able to creatively top this when talking about Michael Doleac.
Michael Doleac.
So, Aaron, go ahead. Give it a shot, Aaron. What do you have?
Who let the Doleac? Who let the Doleac?
He sang that to you, Chris.
I liked it.
He had,
That was the one that was so bad it's good.
he
Go to
had,
line 3.
No, he had good enthusiasm. That I would have liked to have sat in the silence a little while longer after he did that, staring at each other. But the enthusiasm was strong, and so was the stupidity.
I don't even know what it means. Who let the Doleac?
I know, it's kind of catchy, though.
Nick, the callers are dropping out right and left right now because they're scared. Nick, go ahead. What do you have for us in terms of a Michael Doleac song?
Michael Doleac's on the floor.
Little flash dance.
786-456-4837. The phone lines just opened up because everybody got scared of the pressure we put on Chris and the pressure we put on the audience for not being very good at this.
I don't think they hung up on us. I think Chris hung up on them once he realized what we were doing.
Okay, so that's what's happening. Excellent work, Chris, as always. 786-456-4837 is the telephone number. Chris, do you have any advice on where it is that I should go on the board? I know you're very busy.
Don't talk to me while I'm on the phone. That's my advice.
He's listening. He's vetting. I mean,
And here's Billy again, laughing and Chris falling apart.
not helping.
Billy not helping, just looking at Chris, pointing and laughing because everything's falling apart. Peter, you're on ESPN Radio. Go ahead, Peter.
Okay. Don't call my name, Rajon Rondo. I'm not your babe, I'm Rondo.
That's pretty good.
Mike likes it, but he's
bad.
going off the board.
So what?
Like, what do
Yeah, no, you got creative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
ERA-niac does well.
Wow.
And he's pitching like he's never pitched before. ERA-niac on the mound. And his slider's sliding like it's never slid before.
That right there, that you talk about what I'm nostalgic about. That's right there. The Dontrell Willis year, where he was an ERA-niac. An ERA-niac for sure. That's a good song right there.
That's a great one.
Dan, you're on ESPN Radio. Go ahead, Dan.
Oh, okay. Michael Doleac is back, and you're gonna be in trouble. Hey la, Doleac's back.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah. Survived a slow start.
All right, 786-456-4837. We continue to try and resurrect the name Michael Doleac. Next.
Michael Doleac.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show on ESPN Radio.
I'm waiting. I'm getting Bubbles from Schefter here. I asked him who would win in a fight, him or Green.
What do you guys think of Bubbles? I love Bubbles. When you see it, it's like, oh, they're talking.
Yeah, but then the bubbles go away, and that gets
That is
frustrating.
the
Yes,
worst.
yes,
Right.
yeah. Join us in about 15 minutes on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. The NBA is on ESPN Radio. Tune in tomorrow night as the Sixers visit the Warriors. Presented by Indeed. Coverage begins at 8 p.m. Eastern on most ESPN radio stations.
Billy's confused by time again. He is wrestling. He's doing a lot of wrestling with time. We'll get to your phone calls in a second here, singing Michael Doleac songs. 786-456-4837 if you're not familiar with the work of Michael Doleac. He came out of Utah, I believe, college. Big man, a center.
The Utes.
Different time in basketball. Played for a handful of teams as largely, I think almost always, a backup center. Had a very he was very physically strong. He was also very physically square. And he was not someone who, he stayed in the league for a good amount of time. But wasn't an impact player.
Had a 10-year run. He started 84 games in his career.
10-year career in the NBA is nothing to sneeze at.
I wasn't sneezing at it. Why would I sneeze at it?
Bless you.
Mm-hmm.
Why would people sneeze? Why derisively do people sneeze? I've never understood that expression. Like, that's nothing to sneeze at. What does that even mean? I don't understand what that means.
I'm on it.
Do you? But before being on it, do you know what that means? Like, I understand
If I knew what it meant, I would tell you. That's why I'm on it. I mean, we'd all tell you, but no one knows what it means. You're looking for the origins of don't sneeze, right?
Don't sneeze at something.
I mean,
think about it, Dan. Would you sneeze on something that you cared about? No.
Okay, but why isn't that's nothing to cough at? That's nothing to vomit on. That's nothing to urinate on. That's nothing to poop on. Why is it a sneeze? A sneeze is not like that derisive.
Well, you don't pee on a parade. I know that.
That's true. That's right. You don't poop on a party.
But
party
every party
pooper.
has a pooper.
Yeah.
And
Well, but that's
sometimes
how
that
you
pooper's
become a
you.
party pooper if you're someone who poops on a party.
Exactly.
So, Billy, why are you confused by time right now?
Well, confused? I don't know. Intrigued, definitely, because I don't know if you know this, Dan. Daylight savings
Hold
time.
on a second.
Ever heard of it?
Forgive me. Yes, thank you,
Just
Billy.
so much going on.
Yeah, well, you heard Chris in the background. Let me hear your Michael Doleac song. I heard it too.
That was delightful.
So daylight savings is coming up or leaving us, or something's happening Sunday where we're losing an hour. But here's the thing: last weekend we had an extra day, so we gained 24 hours. So we're really just 23 hours ahead now, right? If you're just adding up all the hours in a year, we're losing one would be gained 23. So I shouldn't complain, right? Beggars can't be choosers in this situation.
You're plus 23 on hours, or you're about to be plus 23.
What'd you do on your leap day, now that we're on the subject? Because it was an extra day. You're just there, Normally we don't have it. I don't know if you know this, Dan. Usually February 28 days. This year, 29 days. So we had that extra leap day. Did you do anything special?
The only person I heard talking about it was you.
Really?
Yes, you were the only person who wouldn't shut up last week about.
You surround yourself with some boring people, it seems like.
In the 17th century, sneezing was considered a symbol of status as people believed it cleared their heads and stimulated their brains. So if you sneezed at something or someone, you were basically saying it did not stimulate you.
I got a text right now that says that asks the question of I've always questioned the thumbing of one's nose at someone. What is that? Is that is it? It
I
is.
think it might
Don't
be.
do that. Don't
Careful.
I don't think you can show that on TV.
But wait a minute, is the thumbing of the nose putting your thumb on your nose and wiggling the four fingers, or is it like swiping violently at your nose and then thumbing your nose at
I think
someone?
whatever it is, it's accompanied by a nanny boo boo.
Yes.
Chris is talking to America right now, and it can be frustrating trying to mine America for the funny when people think they're funny and they are not. So 786-456-4837 is the telephone number. We are desperately in search right now of Michael Doleac. We are trying to find him so that he could. It is the world's crappiest America's Got Talent, American Idol. We are having Michael Doleac review the talent of Americans singing Michael Doleac songs, if we can find it.
Is this surprising to you? He's a physics teacher.
Not anymore. He left.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Cup of coffee?
I've kept Michael Doleac's phone number in my phone contacts for 20 years. And today was finally the
It was the day. The
that I
day
was
finally
rewarded
arrived.
for all those years for not deleting it. And I called it, and it was disconnected.
I guess you can delete it now.
Terrible.
Chris, which call would you suggest I take here to see if a Michael Doleac song can possibly, in the history of singing, in the history of words, be better than this?
Michael Doleac.
We also have to play the best example of someone using nothing to sneeze at in a professional setting.
Also mentioned Amir Abdullah. Now, Marshall, usually it's all Rakeem Cato who did throw a touchdown pass in his 40. Devin Johnson put up 272 yards. That's a Marshall record. Nothing to sneeze at.
It's Reese Davis's finest moment.
That
man.
was the sound. It's also Lou Holtz's finest moment, sneezing there and sounding like an old car horn. What do you have, Chris?
I feel decently strong about all of them except for lines 4 and 5.
All right. Well, let's go. Line 4, Cash. You're on ESPN Radio. Go ahead, Cash.
Guess who's back? Back again. Doleac. Tell a friend.
Line 5.
Doleac.
Yeah, you missed the opportunity.
It wasn't good.
Line 5, Assen. You're on ESPN Radio. Go ahead.
Cannot be the way you
Cannot
do
be
it.
yes.
I just heard the news today. Doleac has gone away.
Call again, sir.
Thanks for stopping by, ass.
Thanks, Assen.
Mike, you're on ESPN Radio. Mike, go ahead.
If you don't scrub that kitchen floor, you ain't going to rock and roll no more. Yakety yak. Don't Doleac.
Reader, you're on ESPN Radio. Go ahead, Reader.
Dial 1-900-MIX-A-LOT and kick them nasty thoughts. Michael Doleac.
Pretty good.
Your judgment's off because line 5 was great.
Joe, we need a new call screener. I'm thinking about sending Chris to the penalty box and having Tony take over. Joe, in fact, you know what, Chris, you're
This is actually a greater punishment, though.
Chris, you're
It really is.
Chris,
Keep Chris right where he
Chris,
is. I mean, this is the
no,
worst.
No, we're pulling the goalie. We're pulling the call screener. Get out of here.
We're going to save the arms in the bullpen. We're just going to fight through this one, Chris.
Joe, you're on ESPN Radio. Go ahead.
All right, thanks a lot. I didn't know. I'll give you the verse then. I didn't know we were.
Just
doing
get to it. Let's go.
This guy's
All right.
amazing.
Well, you can tell by the name on my jersey. I'm Michael Doleac. Michael Doleac. Played for the Heat for 3 seasons. Michael Doleac. Doleac. Go Doleac. Doleac. Go Doleac. Michael Doleac.
Amazing.
That guy's voice, when he was speaking, I did not expect that singing voice. He has the voice of an angel. Tony, get in that seat and get some better callers.
Mi gente, this is the Dan Le Batard Show on ESPN Radio.
Get out of here. Let me let me recap what just happened. He brought a giant wooden puppet from his garage that he just referenced on the show, even though nobody gets what the hell he's talking about. It's as big as Isaiah Thomas. This puppet, this wooden puppet with strings, and it's up in here. He's the worst. I thought you were the worst. I was Sing Michael Doleac songs, 786-456-4837. Maybe we'll play a couple of them for Tim Legler, but we will also ask Tim Legler some basketball questions. Thank you, as always, for making the time, Tim. If I tell you, don't worry about injury possibilities or body types or anything, how would you answer the question that Stugotz was asking yesterday about who you'd want for the next 10 years, Luka or Zion Williamson, exempting health from the equation?
That's not even close. It's Luka Doncic. That's not even, to me. That's not. They're not even in the same category.
I think people would be shocked to hear you say that. I was making that same argument on television yesterday, and people didn't agree with me. I don't think it's that close either.
It's not close. It's not close. Look, Zion. I'm not. And this is, unfortunately, in the world we live in and what we do for a living, when you take a stance on something and you have a definitive opinion, immediately people want to then attack you as if you somehow are, taking shots at the other guy. And that, you're asking me a specific question. It's not close. I'm not trying to denigrate Zion Williamson and, what he can become as an NBA player. But there is no comparison between the two guys because Luka Doncic is what a guy that leads you to championships looks like. Zion Williamson really isn't necessarily that. And what I mean by that is Luka Doncic, because of his shooting ability, because of his playmaking ability, and also, he's a guy that can get to the hole. He can finish as well. But the combination of the scoring from the perimeter and being able to score from anywhere on the floor, and he's already a top 5 passer in the NBA with his ability to make guys better. So to me, it's not even close. Luka Doncic will be a multiple-time MVP in this league. There's no question in my mind. Now, will he win championships? That's a hard one because it depends on, who ends up coming to Dallas, who he plays with. Does he make a decision to go somewhere in free agency down the road? So, there's so many things that are going to play into whether or not he wins championships. But there's no question in my mind the guy's going to be a multiple-time MVP, and I'm not ready to come close to taking that leap with Zion.
Is there a player under the age of 25 that you would take over Luka for the next 10 years?
Freak is
no, I would say Luka would be the guy. There's some great talent, man. Just watching that game the other night when I was watching the Pelicans game with 5, and they were playing Dallas, and I'm looking at Porzingis and Luka and Lonzo Ball and Zion and Brandon Ingram. I'm going, my God, there's 5 guys. The oldest one was 24 on the court. And all 5 of those guys, I'm salivating at what their potential could be. Particularly Porzingis now, I've done a 180 on him on what his upside is. I actually think now, as a second best player, I think you can win a championship with Kristaps Porzingis as that guy. And I did not think that at the start of the year. He has added muscle. He's added to his game. He's become a much more consistent scoring threat. He's a game-changing defensive player. So now it depends, can they get their roster good enough? That'll determine if Luka Doncic and Porzingis, if they can win a championship in Dallas going forward. But I would probably say I'd put Luka at the top of that list. This guy is – I know what I'm watching with Luka Doncic. You're talking about absolutely a transcendent generational talent that I think has a chance to become one of the all-time greats.
Tim, I need to beg your forgiveness here, okay? But I ask permission to call you back in 10 minutes and continue this conversation because – and I think you'll understand the urgency of this. Michael Doleac has just called in, and we've got a bunch of callers wanting to sing songs to Michael Doleac. So can we just call you back in 10 minutes and ask? I ask your profound forgiveness. I mean no disrespect by this.
No, of course not. I know better than that. I know how this works. You got it.
All right. Okay. So we will call him back. This is very exciting, though. Amazing. Allison has tracked down the wonderful Michael Doleac, and he is in a hurry. He's got to move. Now, we found out, Michael, recently that you were teaching physics and basketball in Utah for a while, but that's not what you're doing anymore? Thank you for joining us, by the way.
Correct. Oh, you're welcome. I am officially retired again. I spent the last 5 years teaching physics and coaching basketball at Park City High School. Just outside of Salt Lake City, Utah.
So I appreciate you calling in, and what we just want from you is to be the judge on some of this. It's a really cruddy version of American Idol. We've got an assortment of Michael Doleac songs. The first one comes in from Billy Joel here, and I think you'll like this. So far, it's been our standard. We don't have a better standard for the perfect Michael Doleac song than what this is right here. It's the best one ever.
Fake Billy Joel, you're on 790.
Shaquille O'Neal was moving his feet, crushing the ball on defenders. But he got in early foul trouble and had to take a seat. Pat Riley went to his bench and now they're passing the ball to Michael Doleac.
All right, so that's our standard.
That's the gold standard.
That's the gold standard. Okay, do you like that, Michael?
That's pretty good, yeah.
All right,
that's fantastic.
All right, let's see if we can. And you can feel free to rate these however you want. You are the sole judge on these. Let's start with Mike. You're on with Michael Doleac. Go ahead, Mike.
Serenade him.
Blame it on you, D. Blame it on Morning. You can blame Shaq, but you just can't. Blame it on the Doleac. Blame it on the Doleac.
Pretty good. How'd you feel about that, Michael?
You know, that's pretty good. I don't think it's quite up to the gold standard yet.
Asin, you're back on ESPN
no, it
Radio.
can't be.
Go
It's
ahead,
impossible.
Asin. Go ahead.
Well, I just heard the news today. Mr. Doleac has gone away. Doleac's wide open under the basket.
Hold on there for a second, Asin. How do you feel about that, Michael?
Yeah, that was pretty good. I'm not sure I even recognize the song. What song is that?
It's With Arms Wide Open by Creed.
Or these just completely?
No,
that was a Creed song.
That was Creed. We don't blame you for not knowing that. Asin, do you have another one?
I'm strapped. That's all I got. Thanks, fellas.
All right.
All right, thanks.
You lost your confidence. All right, Phil, you're on with Michael Doleac. Go ahead.
My neck, my back, my Michael Doleac.
Damn, that's how you do it, man.
That's pretty good. I like the simplicity of that one.
Yes.
Terrence, you're on with Michael Doleac. Go ahead, Terrence.
Hey, Michael Doleac bites the dust. Michael Doleac bites. Michael Doleac bites. Michael Doleac bites the dust.
No.
Well, let Michael answer.
No.
I like Queer. That's good. I mean, that was good. It was decent.
You're very positive, though. You haven't ripped anybody.
Rip someone, Doleac.
You've been very gentle. Brendan, you're on with Michael. Brendan, go ahead with Michael Doleac. Go ahead.
Step back, shoot the J and listen. Doleac is back with a brand new invention. Something got the hold of him tightly. Average 15 minutes a game nightly. Will I ever stop? Yo, I don't know. He had a cup of coffee with the Nugs and Fo.
Pretty good.
That was pretty good. That was pretty good.
It was.
John, you're on with the gentle giant, Michael Doleac. Go ahead, John.
Wasting his time.
Mike Doleac, if you want to have a good time, just give him the ball.
Wow. Okay. We really failed you at the end there. I got to take another call just so that we don't end on that note right there.
Please do.
Joe, come on. Finish strong here. Michael Doleac has been kind with his time here, Joe. What do you have?
Oh, yeah. White boy played good. Doleac checks back up. Hit the J. Doleac checks back up. Got himself a ring. Doleac checks back up. Let's back that ass up.
I got it.
Good effort, man.
All right.
Good effort. Good effort.
Michael, thank you for tolerating our nonsense.
No worries, man. I think I like the Vanilla Ice version best.
Okay. Oh, wow. You like Vanilla Ice. You like it better. You're saying Michael Doleac has ruled that Vanilla Ice is better than this right here.
Michael Doleac.
No. I mean, the gold standard is still the gold standard.
Okay, very good. Okay, very good.
But I was of the it was good stuff.
All right.
Where did this come out of, if I may ask?
It's a long story, Michael. We'll talk to you Monday. I mean,
We can call you Monday and play some more. How about Monday? We'll call you and we'll play some more songs for you Monday.
That sounds great.
All right.
Awesome. Yeah,
It does sound great.
Nice. Aquí lo que importa es el catch.
Exciting.
Now people have all weekend to work on good songs.
We have reunited with Michael Doleac.
Wonderful.
My neck, my back, my Michael Doleac is.
Yeah, that's a winner.
Great.
Man. That's a winner.
Great. Gold standard, we're saying?
Yeah, that was
The new gold standard.
Yeah,
Wow.
Yeah.
I have a hard time believing Michael Doleac knows the original song, but that was the best.
I do regret not ending the segment right there, because we really petered out going after that to other callers. The weekend is here. My Casper mattress is at home. It's waiting for me. We all have them here. Tell them why, Stugotz.
Yep, we've all heard of Casper, the sleep company with outrageously comfortable products at not so outrageous prices. And with their current end-of-season clearance, you can save up to 20% on the mattress of your dreams. Save up to 20% on mattresses now through March 23rd, 2020. Offer expires March 23rd, 2020 at 11:59 p.m. Pacific. Save 10% off the Essential, 15% off the Casper, 20% off the Wade. Limit one offer per customer and order. Additional shipping fees apply for Hawaii, Arkansas, and certain areas of Canada. Please see Casper.com/terms for additional terms and conditions.
Estás en sintonía con el Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
And then finally, Al Pacino turned down the role of Han Solo in Star Wars. Get out of here, man.
Chewie!
What a different movie that would have been.
Guillermo, put on the poll. Would you have liked to have seen Al Pacino as Han Solo in Star Wars?
Hey, I have a question.
If you missed any of the show, you can listen to all 3 hours of the Dan Le Batard Show, plus our Miami-only hour and our Best of Podcast on demand in the ESPN app. And subscribe to the Le Batard and Friends Podcast Network featuring South Beach Sessions, Stupidity, and Mystery Crate. Please rate and subscribe. New episodes are posted every week wherever you get your podcasts. The NBA is on ESPN Radio. Tune in Sunday as Kawhi and the Clippers host the Lakers. Great weekend of basketball. Presented by Indeed, coverage begins at 3 Eastern on most ESPN radio stations. Tim Legler continues with us now on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line.
The latest Mystery Crate is now out. You can get it. Stugotz is there. And as always, we ask you to rate, subscribe, review. Even if the review is bad, we just want you to rate, subscribe.
No. We don't want the review if
review.
It's bad. No, that's not how this works.
We want good reviews. Yeah. 5-star reviews. We want good ratings. Listen, listening is optional. Just review and rate
Reach
that
out
thing.
to us directly if you have some criticism that could be valid and constructive, but don't put it in a public forum like that. We're trying to confuse an algorithm here, people.
Tim Legler is with us, returns. Thank you for your kindness, Tim. I'm sorry that we interrupted you. I'm glad that you saw the importance in it the way that we did. Now, did I understand you correctly? Because I thought Giannis was under 25. So
He's 25, Giannis.
So if I put them next to each other and say Luka or Giannis.
Yes, I thought, and honestly, I took him out of the equation because I thought also he was above the age limit that you said. But if he's also in the age bracket we're talking about, for me, that's a pick'em. That's not like definitively I say Giannis. I think that's a pick'em because the one thing about Giannis Antetokounmpo, as much admiration as I have, and as great as he is, and as he's possessed, it seems like, to be an all-time great. He doesn't just want to be a great player or an MVP or anything like that. He is obsessed and manic with winning a championship and with also being an all-time great player. Like, that's his work ethic. But having said that, he still has to answer the call when they get into a situation in a playoff series, and they're going to face it again this year, probably in 2 different rounds. In the second round, if they get Boston or Toronto, and then in the conference finals. And I'm also not going to completely rule out Miami in that equation either. He has to prove that when a team comes up with, in a playoff series over a 2-week period when they're adjusting game to game, a defensive scheme that is going to force him into areas he's not comfortable, can he still figure out a way to impact the game in a way that leads them to a victory? He was not able to do that against the Raptors last year. And his frustration with the way they played him with 5 guys in the lane, it started to really make him make bad decisions. He was forcing the ball in bad areas, turning the ball over, taking really off-balance shots, not comfortable with taking an 18-footer or beyond to go out beyond the range of that defense. So I need to see that. And as good as they've been, and I think their team is better than they were last year, and I do think they've got a better chance this year to get to the finals, I still need to see if that happens again. If he runs into the Raptors or the Celtics or the Miami Heat and he gets bottled up because they've had so much time to prepare for one guy and how to make that one guy less efficient, and if they do that and they lose in the second or third round of the Eastern Conference playoffs, I think, there you go. That's the answer for me because Luka Doncic is never going to run into a situation because of his versatility offensively where you're going to come up with a game plan and really completely stop him. He's too good with his handle, he's too good with his passing, and he's too good with his shooting. He's going to figure out a way to do his thing pretty much every night. And he'll have some bad shooting games, but for Giannis, it's different. There's this big Achilles heel that we're looking at that I need to see him answer. And he's been better from the perimeter this year, but nowhere near to the point where I say I trust that in a 7-game series. Like, that's going to get you through if that's what it takes.
I said under 25 because I think it goes without saying that everyone would take Giannis. What I'm amazed by is how quickly Luka has surpassed Zion Williamson, Jason Tatum, Joel Embiid, Jokic, all these guys is the guy that you would take, that most people would take
I'm with Legler.
for the next 10 years.
I'm
it's
with
crazy.
Legler on that. How about in the playoffs, Tim? Clippers, Lakers, who's better?
I like the Clippers. The Clippers, for me, were the team I picked back in September. I never really wavered all year. And in some ways, when I would watch them, guys, it looked to me like they were almost like saying this really doesn't matter that much, the regular season. It seemed like there were other teams in the league that it was more important to them in winning games and putting their foot on the gas a little bit more. It wasn't to the Clippers. It was always about, guys are going to be in and out of the lineup. We're going to add players, which they have just recently done with Marcus Morris and Reggie Jackson. And we're going to see you guys in March. And when that happens, there's not a team in this league that can match our firepower offensively top to bottom. And I believe that. I think they've got the best 3 offensive trio at the top of their roster of any team in this league when you add Lou Williams into the mix. And the reason is because all 3 of those guys can beat you off the dribble to the rim. They can beat you in mid-range, or 3 of the best mid-range players in the league, and that's the toughest place to double team, and that's also the most important area of the floor in the playoffs. And they can also all 3 beat you from deep. And then when you also add in Montrezl Harrell, you add in Marcus Morris, who's a 19-point scorer in this league previously, Reggie Jackson, who's done that. This is a team, for me, top to bottom. Nobody can touch their offensive talent. And then when you throw Patrick Beverley on the floor with Harrell, Kawhi, and Paul George, you now also have maybe the best perimeter defensive team in the league, which is what this league is built on. So for me, it's going to be the Clippers, and they're starting to find their rhythm now. They've been really, really impressive. And real quick, to finish up that last point, Tatum is a guy that, to me, is right there in that mix, too, by the way, where I would even consider him when I'm looking at him and Giannis, because Jason Tatum's game looks like the kind of game that leads teams to parades because of what he has added with his three-point shooting and his handle. He's much stronger than he was a year ago. He's much more aggressive and confident than he was a year ago. So I even think a guy like Tatum now, what he's done over the last couple of months and his improvement, like that's what an NBA star looks like that takes teams somewhere, a 6'8", versatile offensive player that can score from anywhere on the floor. And that is why guys like Giannis and Zion, I think for me, are still like question marks. Not Luka, not Jason Tatum. They're, to me, on a different level.
Tim, we have less than a minute here. I'm wondering, next season, with Steph returning last night, and obviously you think he's going to be healthy next year, but Clay coming back, Draymond Green, the addition of Andrew Wiggins, and a lottery pick. Will the Warriors be the favorites next year?
I don't know they'll be the favorite, but I'll say this. I'm hearing some people doubt, saying that, hey, man, I think they're a definitive top 4 team in the West. I think people are even doubting that because of the nature of Clay's injury, but the nature of his game indicates that he's going to come back 100%. And even just, look, I didn't doubt it for a second, but even watching Curry last night, how much easier he makes the game for everybody on his team because of how much he moves and how much attention he draws and how open the floor gets. It's a quick reminder in 25 minutes last night that this guy is so good. I'm betting on the greatness of Steph Curry and what he does for other guys on that team, that next year the Golden State Warriors are right back as a contender. I don't know if they'd be listed as the favorite because of what the Clippers and Lakers have on paper, and we're going to need to see that at the start of the year. But to me, there's no doubt they're going to be on that short list of teams that could potentially win it all.
Tim, thanks for being on with us. Appreciate your patience with us. Thank you, sir.
Anytime, guys.
Thanks, Tim.
Mick Foley joins us next.
Party in the city where the heat is on with the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
just assume Kawhi Leonard's leaving after this year. And I'm here to tell you, he is not leaving. He loves Toronto so much that he is going to stay there. It's an easier path to the NBA Finals. Kawhi Leonard stays with Kyle Lowry in Toronto for the next 10 years, and they win multiple championships together. That's what I like to call the cherry on top.
Foley, we are requesting that you spend the weekend thinking of songs to sing Michael Doleac. We want you to spend your entire weekend doing that. We're going to rearrange the show a little bit here because we're waiting for Mick Foley. Let's update the polls now before we open up the club in about 10 to 12 minutes. At Batard Show is where you vote on the polls. What do we have today, Stugotz?
Can you stop touching your face? 88% of the audience said no. I mean, who can? The 12%'s lying, by the way.
The reason we were talking about it is because the experts are all telling you to be careful touching your face because of the coronavirus. But those experts, while giving that advice on television, have then been watched by The Daily Show. And you've seen them touching their own faces and putting their fingers in their mouth seconds later.
While delivering the story, by the way.
That's right.
I saw one of them.
Yes.
Is the crawfish the most inefficient thing to eat in terms of value for effort? Chris is getting blasted by everyone on social media for this take. You're getting crushed. 82% of the audience said yes.
Horrible take by Chris Cody.
I'm actually not getting. I'm seeing positive feedback. I don't know if you guys
Listen,
know
I
that.
totally agree with you. Like, meals are supposed to be a release from work. I don't want to work when I go to a meal. I'm leaving work to go eat, and then you're asking me to work again? I don't want to work.
Chris is living the life of John Rocker. John Rocker says the racist thing. He falls and descends into the muck. Everyone criticizing him. And John Rocker says, wherever I go, people are saying nice things to me. Everyone's nice to me wherever I go.
That seems like a really unfair comparison.
Just
I saw
crawfish,
Chris nodding in agreement, being a good teammate, and then just stopping nodding right in the middle of it. When I think right about the word.
Never should have nodded, Chris.
The word was right around, that stopped right around the word racist. Or maybe it was John Rocker. Anyway.
Is the pistachio the greatest of the nuts? And how about this? It's not a nuts.
How is the macadamia nut is better than the pistachio?
Well,
it's not even in my top
pistachio's
five.
not even a nut.
You sound like a nut.
Peanut M&M. I mean, that's 57% of the audience said no. Are you made insane with rage when one of your pistachios comes in a shell that you can't open? It's a great question. 85% of the audience said yes. Pistachios from a bag with no shells. Not the same? 68% of the audience, Mike, you're right, said yes. The shell, it's part of its charm.
Yeah.
Yep,
Part
you're
of
right.
The
Yeah.
whole pistachio experience.
It's a good point. I was just letting you know there was an option. That's all. Okay? It's an option. We're complaining about the shells.
Who does marketing for pistachios? Because remember they had like a whole campaign where it's just like, we're advertising pistachios.
They were spending bank. Pistachios. Didn't they have like a Super Bowl commercial? The pistachio lobby they had all sorts of money.
Thought it was almonds. No?
Nope.
All right. We are done with the polls here.
This tends to be about when Stugotz peters out on the week.
I did that earlier.
It's a pretty consistent. It's a pretty consistent thing. He's also reeling because he doesn't know what to do about the fact that there is being reported in some circles that the Knicks are targeting Chris Paul, and this must be very hard for Stugotz because you're getting Chris Paul well after most people would have wanted Chris Paul, but he always wants the big name. So
Right.
I don't know. What do you do with the information that Chris Paul might make some sense with the Knicks?
CP3, my guy.
Yeah.
I mean, there it is. Listen, he's having an MVP type season right now. Is he not out in the Western Conference? Who's he play for?
Mike, get that Oklahoma City.
Oh yeah, I mean, listen, they are 38-24, and no one has hit more big shots this season than Chris Paul in the final 5 minutes to win games. No one has done it better than Chris Paul. I am excited. CP3. Now listen, if he's your best player, you're going to be 38-24. If he's your third best player, perhaps you have a chance at accomplishing something great. But unfortunately for the Knicks, he'd be the best player we ever had.
In 10 years. He'd be the best player you've had in 10 years, even at this age.
He'd make the all-decade team. It does not matter what happens the rest of this decade. Paul will be on the all-decade team for the Knicks.
Now, I need to
10 years to go.
Present this to the audience because Stugotz thinks he's gotten away with it. But he does this scamper pivot away from where some of the shame is. And so when he says the phrase, and God bless him, Stugotz says some funny phrases around here. I'm sorry, but I'm not going to apologize. When he says that Chris Paul is having an MVP season and then follows that immediately with who does he play for, rendering some of his credibility in question when he does that.
Credibility.
It reminds me of this from Stugotz, a petering out Stugotz. This was during a time that Stugotz was not petering out. He got very excited by something Hassan Whiteside said publicly.
Whiteside has told Ira Winderman, you're going to want to have a Heat jersey next season. Quote, that's all I'm going to say.
Love that. Love it, man. What do you think he means by that?
Aquí lo que importa es el catch.
You're not supposed to love it before you know what someone means by that. But, ladies and gentlemen, the Stugotz experience.
Love at first sight.
We will.
I was not aware of the Chris Paul news until you just told me.
Really?
Yes, that's the first I've heard of it.
I mean, it's flimsy. There's some flimsy reporting out there, but it's how Leon Rose makes a splash.
It's one of his former clients, is it not?
That is correct.
Oh, come on.
Yes, that is right. That is what's running
give
your
him
team
one
now.
final
That's
kiss at the
right.
end of his
That's right.
career.
One final kiss.
Oh.
That's right. Leon Rose is going to give, and you're seeing right now the non-injured year that Chris Paul is going to give you in his late 30s.
This is the last one.
This is it. That's right. And that's when the Knicks enter the game.
I hate them.
Advance Auto Parts. It has the parts you need so you could properly maintain your car. We'll try to get Mick Foley on next week. We're going to open up the club in the next segment. If any problem arises with your car, Advance Auto Parts should be the first place you go. Tell them, God.
Yep, spring is your chance to make your lawn look like the perfectly trimmed work of art you watch your favorite team run across on TV. But before you get to work, make sure you can get to work. Advance Auto Parts will test your lawn and garden battery for free. If it needs to be replaced, grab an Autocraft lawn and garden battery starting at just $22.99. Plus, enter the code DAN20 when you buy online to save 20%. Think ahead. Think Advance at Advance Auto Parts.
Bienvenido a Miami on the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
It's amazing.
I have an idea, guys.
We miss
what
you,
if
Dan,
every single week was Radio Row, just in another city, just covering one event?
That'd be so
That'd be
nice.
so amazing.
I know, I'd be there. Maybe like the NBA All-Star game.
Look how happy Stugotz is, Mike. Look at him. He's got his hands behind his
it's
head.
great.
He is radiant. He is post-coital.
Today on ESPN Daily, Zion's game continues to evolve with the Pelicans. He's shown his star side, but he's hit stumbling blocks too. What will it take for Zion to keep rising? That's ESPN Daily with Mina Kimes, presented by ADT. Download, subscribe, and review ESPN Daily. Available wherever you enjoy your podcast. The sounds coming up in the club is your sound of the day. It's brought to you by My Computer Career, training for a better life.
We will open up the club in a second, but I feel like Roy was shocked by what LeBron James was eating the other day on the bench.
Yeah, a few weeks back, LeBron James pulled out a pack of red vines. This is during the Pelicans game, and apparently he likes red vines. And I'm like, who likes red
vines? Yes, if you like licorice, don't you have to go Twizzlers?
Yeah. Well, who likes Twizzlers anyway? I hate licorice.
What?
And it's
so
flavorless.
This is a licorice take.
Yeah.
This isn't a red vine.
Do you like the black licorice?
Oh, that is disgusting. It's the worst. It's the worst ever.
I'll let you go after red vines, but you keep Twizzler's name out of your mouth.
Exactly.
Right?
Yep.
So what do you guys like aside from Chris?
I think everyone likes Twizzlers more than red vines. I'm a bit surprised that LeBron red vines feel like flea market Twizzlers.
I will say this about Twizzlers. I do like them. I like the nibs the best. Do you like the nibs the best? Twizzler nibs.
The nibs are also good, yes.
Fantastic.
That's Stugotz not even wanting to do the work of eating a bunch of them like one at a time the way all other people would. He wants them cut up for him. Yeah.
I mean, they're great. Listen, you don't get the length, but you get the width. You get a greater surface area. A little nugget. It's like a Twizzler nugget. It's like Chicken McNuggets.
You guys do what I do, right? With the Twizzler, you get a little sody pop in the movie, and then you bite ends off of the Twizzler and use it as a straw.
Straw, of course.
The
Yeah.
sody pop.
I've been doing that for
Yeah,
decades.
red vines and Mr. Pibb, crazy delicious.
Yeah.
Sody pop. Let that be the last thing you say at a microphone this week, okay? I want
Sit with that for the weekend.
Just go home this weekend and just sink into your call screening job on Michael Doleac. The fact that you couldn't get your name right earlier this week, I want you to sit and stew in that all weekend. Let's go ahead and open up the club. We send you into the weekend.
There's nothing worse than going home on a bad show for the weekend.
Jason Momoa.
Sody pop is...
You got that from your dad. I mean, weren't supposed to talk. Tough one.
Billy loves when Chris messes up. I don't think there's anything that makes him happy. The joy that sweeps across Billy's face is something I didn't even see on his wedding day.
I feel bad, but like
You
it
don't,
also makes
though.
me laugh. But like I've been there so many times.
We all have.
What's the first sound in the club?
Everybody.
I still got a couple Doleac songs here on the call screener. I've got some Doleac songs if you want me to sprinkle them in here.
I dare you to take one right now.
Not right now, I won't, because I've got to open up the computer.
Chris heckling now in the back saying, "Got to be a little quicker there, Mike."
Probably open up that computer a little sooner next time.
You were supposed to stop talking.
Who else is in the club? You were supposed to stop talking. Who else is in the club, Mike? You're sitting it out? You're protesting it? Is that what you're doing?
Is that Riley?
It's an underrated song.
It is not underrated. It is popularly rated as awful.
Riley's back.
Stay way right. Who else is in the club?
My neck, my back, my Michael Doleac.
Good, man.
Who else in the club?
Hermaphrodites. What?
Somebody thought you were trying to say Jimmer Fredette.
Hermaphrodites. It was.
Who else is in the club?
What do you got?
I have no idea. I wish I knew. Someone banged for me.
Is that Anthony Rizzo? Is that who that was in the batter's box? Just asking, while being interviewed in the batter's box, asking for someone to bang for him so that he would know what pitch was coming?
I'm going to go to here. No, I'm not.
I love that.
That's him rounding first base while wired for sound. Who else we got?
Who let the Doleac? Who let the Doleac?
excited. We got Doleac back on Monday.
I am very excited.
This is great.
Yes, we're going to play songs for Michael Doleac on Monday because one time was not enough. Who else is in the club?
Since the beginning of time.
That's some of the excellent production you will find on our show for Nostra Dumbass.
Since the beginning of time.
He's starting to have some feelings about free agency, by the way. I meant to tell you guys. Some
Nostra-
rumblings.
Since the beginning of time.
Who else is in the club?
Don't call my name, don't call my name, Rajon Rondo.
I don't understand how that snuck in here.
He went off the board.
Who else is in the club?
I just heard the news today. Mr. Doleac is gone away.
You never know where we're going to end up, man. We spent an hour on Michael Doleac today.
I could go skydiving or Rocky Mountain climbing. Go like
Roy brings up a
1.7
point,
seconds
though.
on a
Like,
bull named
Roy
Fu
does bring up
Manchu.
a...
Those hurt, don't they, Dano?
Yeah, they hurt Stugotz.
Passing the ball to Michael Doleac.
Who else in the club?
Everybody.
Stop doing that.
He's not limping, right?
Who else in the club?
I could go skydiving or Rocky Mountain climbing. Go like
Roy brings up a
1.7
point,
seconds
though.
on a
Like,
bull named
Roy
Fu
does bring up
Manchu.
a...
Thank you for listening to the Dan Le Batard Show on ESPN Radio. You're welcome.
Everybody.